Down the fort. Joining us now, we've got Miss Kimberly Schipke. Did I say it right, Kimberly?
You did. You did. Thank you so
Awesome.
much for having me on your show.
All right, so we wanted to have you on to talk about the company you founded, Biofield Lab, and some of the work you're doing with some rather innovative medical treatments. Tell us what it's all about.
Well, after I received my master's in biomedical engineering at Mississippi State, my first job was overseeing clinical trials for big pharmaceutical companies. So I would hear the study drug versus the placebo and how many people died in the study, how many people's faces were twitching, and how many people were hospitalized. And it totally kind of scared me a little bit, just seeing what was going on with this chemistry-based form of medicine. And so actually had a seizure. They ran $10,000 worth of tests, couldn't figure out what was wrong with me at the hospital. And it was alternative therapies that actually helped save my life. And I had tried acupuncture, and that helped. And then I also stopped taking birth control pills, which I had been taking for almost 10 years. And that had started to deposit in my pineal gland. And so I took some homeopathic drops to help clear that out, and I started to feel like a brand new person. And it cost less than $100 for all of this different treatments, and it was really effective when, as I said, $10,000 worth of tests, and they couldn't figure out anything that was wrong. So looking at more at the body, more from an electric and more from a physics standpoint, just seemed logical. So I started studying what's known as the biofield, so the energy that's outside of the body that is outside of the visible spectrum, so you can't see it. So I started with thermal imaging cameras where you can see the heat that the body gives off that normally you couldn't see it, but if you're standing next to somebody who's just done a workout, you can feel the heat coming off of their body. But, just like the earth has a thermosphere, the body also has this thermosphere, and how we can prepare for the weather is by monitoring those types of things. So same thing with the human body. I found that it's really useful to see where is your body, consuming a lot of energy, where is there not any energy. So, for example, being able to see a dental infection that somebody has, in their teeth that they might not be aware of, and seeing how that's affecting their lymphatics and their drainage. Breast cancer, you can see the blood vessels that are feeding the tumor 6 years before it would be large enough to be able to see it on a mammogram or an ultrasound. So you're able to see that these things are happening long before, they actually become, a problem. So
when you talk,
also, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to ask, when you talk about seeing these things, specifically, can you describe what that process looks like? Go ahead.
With a thermal imaging camera, when you're looking at the body, things that are kind of more normal temperature would show up green, that kind of middle of that spectrum. And if areas are really hot, if there was an infection or a lot of like sore muscles in a person's back, you'd see that as, this bright red, fiery red, that these muscles might be really inflamed. But it also gives, like when people talk about pain, it says, usually they'll say on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad does it hurt? But with this thermal imaging camera, you can actually quantify and put, their lower back is, 2 degrees hotter than everywhere else on their body. So you can, start to put some kind of more, data and numbers to pain rather than just a subjective, like 1 to 10 scale. And then areas where there's not much energy flow, like let's say a person has really bad circulation, or they're starting to have neuropathy in their fingertips or in their toes, you would see that as the more blue scale, so more blue, cold. And if it's really bad, then you can't even, they don't even show up in the image at all. So I've been able to see, not only looking at people's bodies and what, how their body's consuming energy, where is it spending a lot of energy and where is there not enough, but I've watched people who do more energy-based healing, like Qigong, where people move energy within their hands and within their body, and they'll do healing that way. So I've been able to see the hands of healers and watch over time, within actually seconds, that the palms of their hands will heat up and get really really hot, and they're moving this energy, really just with their thought and with this intention and all of the practice that goes into doing Qigong.
And so you're using tuning forks and green laser lights as part of this. I mean, those are your tools, right?
Yeah, those are my tools to help affect change. So thermal imaging is more just, you're looking at the body. The body's actually radiating heat to the camera. So we're not putting anything into the body like x-rays, that kind of puts a frequency into the body. So the input that I'm giving to the body is with coherent sound. Tuning forks, they're used to tune pianos, tune instruments. I see the body as an instrument. And so by using a tuning fork, what we've been able to find is, if we were to hold it over a person's adrenals and they've got a lot of anxiety, you can hear the change in the pure tone of the fork. It will start to sound and it will vibrate almost as much, as that kind of fear and that adrenaline pumping in that person's adrenals. But it's like tuning a guitar. So if there were two people, one person had a guitar that was in tune and a person had a guitar that was in tune, you keep playing that in tune note, then the guitar that's out of tune, they'll make subtle changes and eventually they'll also become in tune. So with the tuning forks, that's one of the things that we've been able to do is to, help tune into different, parts of the body or different parts around the body. And the body hears that it's off. And so really it auto-tunes itself. I just, put the tuning fork in that space, but the body's really doing all of the work. And similar thing with the laser. So lasers are also coherent light. And I use green. As I said, that's the middle of the spectrum. Red, orange, yellow, they're really stimulating colors. That's why they're used in fast food logos. And but it's contraindicated to use those colors sometimes because if a person's, if their central nervous system is already overstimulated, then stimulating their body more with red could be, too much. And conversely, with blue, indigo, violet, any of those colors, they can relax and suppress the body. And that's also could be contraindicated for some people. So green, I felt really safe and really comfortable working with green to help kind of neutralize this energy field that's around our body that can get so charged.
So we got just a couple of minutes left. Tell us what some of the applications are in terms of diseases or symptoms that you expect could be treated or diagnosed with this sort of technology.
I've been able to help people who've got Parkinson's. That's kind of like a chaotic electric field. So bringing in that coherent output of a tuning fork and lasers, that's been able to really help with that. People with head injuries, I've worked on former Denver Bronco football players, and it's the static around the head. You can hear that with the tuning fork from all of those head injuries. And also with Alzheimer's, I've had some good results where about 6 inches off of the right side of the forehead, there's kind of a gap of sound there. So I've been able to help, people who were starting. It was right at the beginning, like where they were starting to forget what they were saying. So not far on Alzheimer's, but early on being able to catch it and using the tuning fork. So I've been able to help a lot of different things, even
fascinating.
People who have phantom limb pain. So, there's not even, I'm working in the energy field of where their limbs or arms, used to be. I've been able to help with that as well. But really a broad variety, helping people with, like I said, anxiety if their adrenals are really overactive, really helping them to kind of settle down and find the stillness on the inside can really help.
Wow. It's totally fascinating. Do you own Biofield Lab solely, Kimberly? Do you have some investors, partners? Yeah,
I do.
Okay.
It's just me, but I would love to have some investors.
Are you pitching it?
I have an idea for a device that would measure the human atmosphere. So subtle changes in pressure and temperature and different volumes around the body. I'd love to.
Different approach, so many applications, really cool stuff, fascinating, and thanks for joining us and sharing your story and educating us somewhat on this, which is groundbreaking approach to curing and treating the human body.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
You got it. We'll take a break right here. That was fascinating, folks. We'll come back with more talk on Midday.